want to do a video before work. So I chose this one. This is going to be a video on two guns I hated, and now they're awesome. Okay, I equally disliked both of these firearms before ever owning any examples of either. Now what we have here is a Glock 19 FS and a Colt Commander that I've done a video on before. There's a bunch of custom parts in it. 45 ACP 9mm. Now, I'm not really into doing the Glock versus 1911 comparison. I think that's dumb. It's really dumb, actually, because both these guns are they both have drawbacks and they both have their advantages. I don't know why people always have to butt them up in a head-to-head comparison like they're competing firearms. They are competing in the market, but they're different firearms for different things. They both can be carried. They both can be used. They're both really good at what they do. And to say that one is so much better than the other one all the time is just stupid hyperbole. It's dumb. These particular guns have both been, tailored to my specific liking, which mitigates a lot of the issues that they have. Excuse me. I've always. Let's start with the earliest version. When I was a younger guy, in my teens and stuff, when I first started, studying into firearms, the 1911 always bothered me. I wasn't a fan of it because of the 45 ACP round. I thought was just ballistically crap. But and it is once you reach, beyond yardage where it's designed to be at. But once I ended up getting a hold of this 911 or 1911, through whatever circumstances I ended up getting it, I explained that in the other video, and then I started using it. I developed a real like for the firearm, and then realizing that the 45 ACP, and most of the other self-defense rounds, when they're used in conjunction with the distances that they're supposed to be used at, they're pretty damn effective. It doesn't need to be a ballistic champ like a 357 SIG or something like that, or a 357 Magnum. The 45 does a hell of a job when you're at fighting distance. And the 9mm is no slouch either. I would say, in my preference, the 45 is going to be a little bit tougher on somebody than the 9, with equal quality ammunition probably. But this 9, damn, I don't want to get shot with that. But the capacity advantage is definitely going to go to the modern Glock. The ergonomic advantage is going to definitely go to the 1911, I think, unless you're just always been a Glock fan and you don't like the 1911 for some reason. But I think basically everybody who's ever touched the 1911 says, wow, that thing fits like a glove. It points a little bit better. It definitely does for me, personally anyway. This one, I pull it up and point it, it's always dead on where I want it to be instantly. The Glock takes a little bit of finagling. So that might be the advantage for the 1911. The Glock, its advantages of weight, its modern construction and modern design inside is definitely a little bit, I think, more tolerant of dirt and stuff. The striker fire is definitely better. Not that the 1911's a slouch. I mean, this thing's been with us since 1911, through many wars, many conflicts, and it's done its job. And you might have to pay attention to it, clean it, keep it out of the dirt a little more. But I would trust my life on this gun with no hesitation. I've used this thing. It's fired everything I ever put through it. I don't think I've ever had a malfunction with this gun that wasn't induced by me when I first started shooting semi-auto pistols. AKA limp wristing, because I was a revolver kid, revolver young guy shooting Magnum revolvers, which it's a different technique. You let it do what it wants. This, you have to control the semi-auto differently. The Glock advantages, maybe not so much in the ergonomics. I stippled this myself, and I'll as well remove the finger grooves. Now it's a little bit more likable to me. I did the 25-cent Glock trigger job on it, which definitely smoothed it a bit. And, the limit for me at this is probably 60 or 70 yards. Today I shot it at 60 yards, hitting, I think, 12 by 18 steel man core type targets. Hitting it 2 out of 3 times at 60 yards. Anywhere under that was 2 out of 2. 2 out of 2. I kept backing up 10 yards. I started at 10, 20. You know, I had to adjust the rear sight, and that's where you see it's a little over to the right. I think that's my style of shooting. I seem to have to drift the sight over to the right a little bit. But once this was on, no problems out to 60 yards. 1911, a little better than that, probably 80 yards because the trigger's way better. You know, when I hit 60 yards with this Glock, that's where the stock trigger weight in this starts to bother the shooter for any type of distance. It's too heavy at, I don't know, what is it, 5.5 pounds? Too heavy for that type of, you got to concentrate too hard on the pull. Advantages to the Glock, man. The stock night sights on the Glock, shape wise, not so great. Finish wise, too shiny, too easy to buff from carry, and they get reflective a little. You can see that sheen on them. I don't like that. It messes you up outside. But the night sight itself, boy, they're big and they're bright. They're good. So I'm not going to change these because it would cost me money for no reason, because at night they work really well if they're big and they're bright, and that's what I'm looking for in a defense gun. You generally don't get, mugged at noon. You're right. So, this SF model came with this extended slide stop, which is kind of cool when you're using a pistol, but it actually gets in the way of my thumb. I've hit it a few times. It failed to lock back, which isn't usually a problem for me with my little thumbs, but this one is actually. So I ordered a standard factory one to replace that, and that should, take that away. I think the 1911 might have a little bit of advantage in that it's dropping the mag is a little smoother, a little cleaner than the whole plastic setup here. It's not as easy to work with for me. The 1911 might have a little advantage there. The stippling on the Glock's awesome. Grip-wise, these guns there's no problem between them. These VZ thin grips on here are awesome. 1911 advantage, maybe that it's nice and thin. Disadvantage that there's so much weight to it. They're about equal size if you take away the beaver tail, and maybe I got a little extra with this extended magazine well. But they're both awesome guns, and I don't understand why people dislike one over the other so much. They need to get over that and just learn to run both pistols, because they both do a really good job. They're both awesome. I mean, I thought the polymer in the Glock might, seem a little ridiculous. Like the striker has a sleeve of polymer in there, and I was like, wow, that doesn't seem tough, but it must be, because they last for a long time, man. They just run as well as the 1911 though. So I don't know why people are always comparing these and, well, the Glock is the king. The Glock isn't the friggin' king, okay? It's got some major disadvantages sometimes to some people. I had to undercut this to give my fingers a little more room. If I could see if somebody didn't have the skill to stipple and undercut, the Glock might not be their gun if they have an issue with the grip. If they're better doing it themselves, hey, go for it. You can adjust it to your liking. But this isn't the king of guns. The 1911 isn't the king of guns. It might have a little time frame king of gun on the Glock. The Glock might have a little popularity king on the 1911. You see, where I'm getting at here is, like, there isn't really one gun to rule them all, like the friggin' Lord of the Rings here. You should be able to learn to run this gun. You should be able to learn to run this gun. Running the guns, since I ran upon that, this is a little bit easier to run. Let's say, talking about overhand slide cocking and stuff. This slide, to me, is a lot more comfortable overhand rack and to manipulate when I'm going fast. The 1911 is a little more iffy. Well, for one thing, the weight, man, it's even hard for me to do this, but those serrations aren't the best. The manual safety, that gets in the way when you're overhand racking. It does. And the gun is slimmer, which I like, but it's harder to grip when you overhand rack. So there's lefts and rights and lefts, all these issues. The capacity is definitely for the Glock. I think I said that before. I mean, you can run 10 or 11 rounds in this with an extended mag. Excuse me, Glock 17 mag. You're running 17 rounds in one in the chamber, so still no comparison really for that. Apples to apples though, if I was running 45s and 45s, I'm not sure what a Glock carries. So I mean, that's gonna be closer, but you know what I'm getting at. I picked up this Glock because I wanted a cheaper gun to train with mostly. And the gun dealer had this one in his holster, actually, this SF model, or FS model. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. I'll take it. But I wanted a 9mm because they're cheaper, you know, to train a lot with. They're half the price of the 45 ammo. But, excuse me, it's a really common gun, so I want to train with a really common gun, so I was more familiar with a common gun. It wasn't my favorite. The more I use it, though, the more I can run it, I begin to like it better. You know, and I wanted to fill a little niche, a little spot that I was kind of light on. I could carry a 45 XD or a 45 1911 here. Bigger, heavier guns. Where my smaller option is my 38 Special Smith & Wesson 5-shot. So I kind of have like a big caliber and capacity missing hole there. Got a little 5-shot here, and then I had this big heavy 45 or XD 45. So I wanted something in between, and the Glock 19 fits the bill with better capacity, a little bit better, you know, power per round than the 38 Special. Not much. Don't yell at me, 38 Special guys. Maybe a hair, especially with the plus B type stuff. But the longer barrel helps. You know, you're getting your velocity up there over that little tiny snubby. But, you know, the weight on this is awesome. Weight per capacity and size is really good with this gun. Really good with the 19. The steel frame 1911 definitely loses that battle. Thinness is awesome. Weight isn't so great. So there's my take on the whole Glock versus 1911 foolishness. They're both good guns. Learn to use them both and be happy with them. Have a good day.